This week on Dig Me Out. With your hosts, Jason Ziak and Tim Minichi.
Jay, we're back again with another episode thanks to our Dig Me Out Union on Patreon. You can help us make the next episode happen by joining us at dmounion.com or digmeoutunion.com. Jay, this is our second of two second chance episodes. It's where we rescue a selection from one of our polls that tied and lost in our runoffs. So for people that don't know at home, I'll let you know a little thing that we do here at Dig Me Out and over at our Patreon. We take 27 albums every month suggested through our website at digmeoutpodcast.com. You can just go there, suggest an album. We throw it into the master spreadsheet, and then 27 of them get plucked out by our intern, Zora. And, well, no, she's not an intern. She's actually an employee because she gets paid, right? This isn't one of those internships where you're earning credits for school or something.
She's a 1099.
She's a 1099. That makes sense. And 3 polls of 9, those get whittled down to 6. And then the final 6 battle it out for supremacy. Whoever wins that gets reviewed. However, twice this year we had ties of those final 6. Last week we did Swerve Driver, that was a tie. And this week we're doing a record that tied in August, lost to Adorable, which was a shoegaze album called Against Perfection. But we're bringing it back, Jay. Bringing it back.
Come on back in.
And
Step back in the ring.
This was a pick by Darren Lehman. I'm going to give you the description first so you can figure it out. Well, actually, you probably know what it is because of the title of the show would give it away that you're downloading.
Maybe you didn't read the title.
Maybe you didn't read it.
We're so excited, you just hit play and didn't even...
Exactly. That's entirely possible. Likely? No. Possible? Sure. He said, this baritone folk-inspired troubadours album was inescapable for about 2 straight years. Hayden emerged from the indie rock folk scene to put his mark on Canadian music. The signature voice and sweet melancholy themes are reminiscent of Elliott Smith. Hayden was known for playing certain songs with bizarre tunings or having the guitar out of tune during recording. And speaking of Hayden, and his first album, Everything I Long For, which came out in 1995 in Canada, 1996 in the United States. Jay, are you familiar with Hayden?
I thought Hayden was a late 90s, early 2000 British artist or band. I always thought they were in with maybe Travis.
Oh, really?
And that sort of thing. Yeah, the post, I don't know, what would you call that?
Post Britpop
kind of thing. Yeah, so yeah, I'd heard of them and I thought I knew who they were. And I was wrong.
I had heard the name, but I had never listened to it. Having grown up in Buffalo, I'm deeply connected to all things Canadian, and I take my Canadian knowledge seriously. So I'd heard of Hayden, but just hadn't checked it out. He started his own record label called Hardwood Records, and all of his records, at least in the first 6 of them, all came out on his label first, and then they were, well, the first one, and then subsequent records after that were released by him, and then co-released by Geffen, Universal Music, and then he's released I believe 8 albums in total. Everything I Long For, like I mentioned, came out in 95. Then The Closer I Get in 1998. Skyscraper National Park in 2001. Elk Lake Serenade in 2004. In Field and Town in 2008. The Place Where We Lived in 2009. Us Alone in 2013. And Hey Love in 2015. Now, his full name is Paul Hayden Desser. from Thornhill, Ontario, Canada. And this record was it was released, or it was recorded partially at his home, and then some tracks were recorded at the Umbrella Sound studio in Toronto, and then the Crazy Head Studios also in Toronto. This actually did fairly. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. So this got a re-release, and the couple songs got cut off. So if you're doing the 14-track album, that's the re-release. That's the global version, not the Hayden local version.
Wait a minute. So I did the 20th anniversary, which had, it looked like 16 and then 3 demos.
Well, I think part of the. So what was track 14? Do you
Lounging?
know? Okay. Was there on the Spotify version of the original recording, there are 2 songs after that on the same track. So maybe they're split up. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because it's 11 minutes long, and then
like Original Recipes is just like a throwaway spoken thing.
It's called Skit 1 and Skit 2 on Spotify.
Okay.
So basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you got some bonus demos. Good for you. So we got some comments. So originally when this came out, this was our August poll, and people were excited for this. Going back, Jerry Ment said, I know there is no way Hayden is winning this whole thing. Well, you were actually wrong there, or pretty close. But I'd love to hear a review of this album as it was originally released. I need Tim and Jay to listen to the hidden track. Okay.
Which would that be?
Right.
Now that we've compared notes and they're listing completely, I'm guessing.
And then he followed up with another comment, Jay. Oh, it looks like the 20th anniversary edition in Apple Music has the original tracks plus some demos. Not that it matters. If there was a 2000s pod, I'd definitely find a way to get Skyscraper National Park reviewed. Jeff Jensen said that Hayden album is on my personal queue for my 12-month reviews. Chip Midnight mentioned that he ate bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches with Hayden while interviewing him here in Columbus at Bernie's. And Kyle Bittner said it's about due time that Hayden gets reviewed. He's such an underrated musician, and I have been following him since day one. I remember purchasing the original release on CD at HMV. It was $30 Canadian.
Oh my gosh.
Canadian at the time. The exchange rate was different then. Remember, like you would go to Canada in the 90s and you'd be like, I have $10. And they're like, no, it's actually $17.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Now it's not like that. He said it was $30, which was a lot of the time. So I had to wait for my punch card to fill up so I could get $10 off. And Willie Dillon said that's like $500 in today's money. Also, David Heverland said, as great as the Hayden album is, and it's so damn good, I have to go with Adorable. Okay. And so that was it for that original poll. Then for the finals, we got some comments. Willie Dillon said, I went with Hayden, even though I suggested Sam I Am. The album is an interesting mix of folk and grunge. The production is fantastic as well, which is interesting considering the guy who recorded it only has Hayden listed on his credits. So, one and done for that gentleman on his recordings. Kyle Bittner said also, no doubt that Hayden deserves to take this one. This album is stellar, beautifully emotional, unique, and different from the majority of albums usually reviewed. The lyrical content alone deserves discussion. If Hayden doesn't win, I'll be for Aphex Twin. Well, Aphex Twin didn't win. It was Adorable. Jerry Ment said, hot damn, is Hayden going to pull this off? And yes and no. Passed Jeremy. And then we had our runoff. You know how that goes. Adorable One. We rescued Hayden. And now we're going to talk about it. So, Jay, please tell me one thing you enjoyed about Everything I Long For by Hayden.
I agree on the production comment. It's interesting. It reminded me more of the sound of the MTV Unplugged or like Nirvana or Alice in Chains, where you get dark sounding, kind of melancholy rock band or sound that's tuned down or toned down, I guess. So even when they're like, for example, in September, the second track, when the guitars get fuzzier, you still have got acoustics mixed in. The drums sound a little restrained, like they're using brushes or something. It's mixed in a way that even when it's loud, it still has this intimate sound to it. And then on the quieter things, say like We Don't Mind, it really gets that kind of intimate, small room vibe going. The vocals very upfront, pretty dry overall as a record. I like also when they bring in the acoustic bass. Like normally I don't even notice acoustic bass, but there's a couple songs on here I think they're using acoustic bass with the acoustic guitars. Bad as They Seem is a good example, and it has this kind of grind to it that I think sounds pretty cool. Um, and then I think the last thing is just vocally. I think he's using harmonies pretty successfully. He's often using a falsetto and a deep voice together, which I think really helps the melodies quite a bit. Gives the overall, I think, feeling of the record some depth. Stem is a good example where I think that comes together really well. So it's a very 90s sounding record. I think the grunge call out is pretty good in terms of for the general population. I think you could play some songs from this and they would probably describe this as sounding grungy. It doesn't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say it sounds lo-fi, and it doesn't necessarily sound straight up like folky. I think it's in this very, to me, like I said, grunge bands doing MTV Unplugged mixed with some folky songwriting at times, and also some fuzzy guitars. There's some stuff on here where it gets into a Dinosaur Jr. territory. I think in September and in Driveway, there's some little dissonance going on. There's some fuzz going on. It rises out of that intimate folky sound and gets a little bit bigger. So there's some range here as well, even though it's production wise kind of small and intimate. So that's the thing I like the most. How about you?
Well, let's see. Can we just jump to what didn't work?
All right. I'm going to have a long list too.
I think some of the guitar recording sounds good in terms of fidelity. Like I can hear the strings ringing out clearly.
I really like the piano.
I thought the piano with the reverb, like kind of having like a room feel for the piano, that sounded cool.
Especially with his voice. It's a nice contrast because the piano parts are really pretty. They're not like dissonant or weird.
Right.
So the counter between that and then his super deep voice, I thought worked pretty well.
I consider your letter. I understood your questions. I'm wasting away. I've gone astray. me away. Know what you say, I'm to blame. Didn't want change. Things can't stay the same way. Come get me.
Man, I know that I can be sensitive about like vocal approach.
Yeah.
Like if there's like a thing that I hear and it doesn't work for me with the vocal, then I can't like unhear it.
Yep.
So like somebody said they can't listen to Matthew Bellamy of Muse sing because he takes a breath before every time he sings, and now
Yep.
all they hear is him taking that breath and going
Yep.
Yeah, so the music was okay. This might be the record that works the least for me we've ever reviewed.
Oh my goodness.
And I really like having a hard time with that because so many people like this record.
I know. You were reading the
admire it.
comments and I was thinking, oh my God, I don't quite get it.
And I don't blame, I mean, I can understand why people would like this record as a confessional songwriter. I get that. I personally, and I've said this before, I don't love singer-songwriters.
Oh, okay.
It's just not my jam.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my like music collection, I have almost no singer-songwriters in my music collection. I don't even really like it when lead singers do solo records because I don't care. I want to hear a band.
Okay. I hadn't put that together about you.
Yeah, so like the Rolling Stones, love them. Mick Jagger solo, no, don't care. Yeah, I have a really hard time with that aspect. And so I was like, it's got to be me. I'm the problem. It's me. Hey, I'm the problem. It's a Taylor Swift situation here. I don't know if you know that's from a Taylor Swift song, Jay.
I wasn't familiar with that one.
Okay, it's on her new record, Midnights, which you can pick up at any local record store. There's 5 variants on the cover.
Thanks for giving her a plug.
So anyway, so I was like, I'm going to go search the internet for some reviews and see what people are saying. And I went to Rate Your Music, which is a common place to go to see what people are saying or have said. And it gives you like the album information. It tells you what the overall rating is from like all the people who reviewed it for the website. And then it gives you like genres and descriptors. So under genres, it was singer-songwriter, acoustic rock, indie rock, emo, grunge. Under the descriptors, it was self-hatred.
Oh my.
Male vocals, depressive, and lethargic.
Yeah.
That's not what I tend to look for in my music listening.
If those were genres, you wouldn't be flipping through those at the record store.
Right. I'm kind of past the self-hatred point. Like, I'm working on that. I gotta, I do my transcendental meditation and I go to my counselor and I'm trying to be a positive person. So joking aside, I had a really hard time with the vocal. It's so lethargic. And I found myself like leaning forward as he was singing, like, okay, I got through that line. And like, I think what the problem is I had is that then the rhymes became predictable.
Oh yeah.
Like he was singing so slow. I knew what the rhyme was going to be before he even finished the line before it because it was obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a note on that. Like the melodies become this monotonous drone and often he doesn't, not frequently enough. Let me put it that way. He doesn't have like a B section to the verses.
Yes.
When he does, hardly is a good example where he does, and it helps a ton. When he doesn't, it's like you said, like this long drawn out heavy emphasis on consonants, or you know, the yarling kind of thing. And it's very predictable. Like he gets in a rhythm of what the melody is, and you're like, oh, I know what the next word is. I know where the next rhyme is. Like,
yeah.
Nothing about this is surprising me.
Missing from your life and from your everyday. I need you to be beside me. Why don't you call me and we'll see? I see you having coffee. You're almost beside me, laughing with your friends. I tell the rain to look at you. I tell her I need to tell you. I don't know you, but I want to.
And we need to talk about that yarling that he's doing, because it's, if you had told me that if you'd played that and be like, this is a parody of Eddie Vedder,
right?
I'd have been like, yeah, that sounds like a parody of it. Like somebody's making fun of Eddie Vedder's voice. Right. Like I could not wrap my brain around that stylistic choice. It just sounds put on is my problem. Like it sounds like an affectation that he's deciding to do rather than sing. And I think he's a talented player and musician, but it's like I was shooting for Mars and I'm heading to Jupiter. Like it is the complete wrong trajectory for my musical tastes. Doesn't mean that other people, I feel like I have to qualify all this because I feel so bad that I'm taking what is essentially a large dump on something that people seem to really like.
All we can do is be honest. I mean,
right. I'm trying to like
about the pieces and parts that work, and then be honest about the ones that don't. For us personally.
And if anything, this really helps codify in my brain like what I like to listen to versus what I don't like to listen to, or what I find uncomfortable to listen to. And this is the latter, not the former.
The one of the things that I keyed on in my passive listens that I just could not let go was when he goes into that guttural vocal in like a song like When This Is Over or Skates. It sounds ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a Tom Waits parody.
Yeah.
And what happened was in the passive listens, my perception was a lot of the records sounded like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh, okay. So, next couple times I listened to it, I was like, wow, I don't know, man. This vocal is ridiculous. Now, when I went back and took my notes and really listened for that, it was less present than I remembered in my passive listens. But I think I was just had such a negative reaction to it. It just colored my entire experience with the record going forward. And I just could not get over it. I disliked that vocal style so much. And it's the most extreme on the record. And then you get this majority of the record is in this middle place where it's the same kind of drone predictability, yarling affectation, predictable melody. And then, there's maybe, 10% of the record where I think the vocals are good and there's harmonies and it's more about melody and there's B sections and it's interesting. But that totally got lost because I was just so negative about that ridiculous guttural thing.
Deep lines on his face, just half praise. Now look at him, he looked at me, looked so sad. I had to say, what did he want? What could it be? What had he been through before me?
I just wanted something somewhere that I could like relate to in terms of what I like. And there was just
Yeah.
like, was just missing. I mean, one of the other problems is like, there's like on Bad as They Seem, or, you know, the opening track, like if you're going to do that vocal part, you got to break it up with some other stuff that's, and not the yarling or the
Yeah.
guttural. Like just like change the cadence of the delivery, change the melody, do something with it. I can't listen to bar after bar after bar of that same like droning melody and stay
You know,
engaged.
You know what's funny is that song to me sounded a lot like the elements of Marcy Playground, Sex and Candy without the songwriting.
Yeah.
It was like that style of singing, similar instrumentation. The vocal is in the same range, but it doesn't have like the clever hook and the songwriting craft that they have.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if I read this somewhere or if what, but it sounds like if in the 90s Beck made like a side project album of like dirgy folk music. And, you know,
Yeah.
after he makes Loser and Odelay, he's like, I'm going to do this. And it's going to be
Right.
like completely bizarre and mess with people. In even more than like Sea Change did when that came out. Like it just, and I guess what confuses me is like, why this record? Why does this one get the attention? Like, why aren't there other singer-songwriters who is his vocal and his delivery the thing that makes him so unique that people want to check him out? That's the only thing I can think of. But I don't know.
Don't know.
Because I saw comparisons, like you said, you know, Tom Waits in certain parts, but some people were comparing him with Leonard Cohen, and I'm like, no. I get it's a baritone, I get it's a deep voice, but Leonard Cohen was an amazing songwriter, great at his craft.
Yeah, I mean, are the lyrics that good? I mean, I consider Leonard Cohen lyrics pretty strong. I did found
Yeah.
these fine, and I read quite a few of them. I was not blown away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Maybe there's something lyrically going on here that we're just not. It's not speaking to us.
Maybe, and maybe we're not the right age anymore.
Yeah,
You know, maybe if I was younger, and I was, what were the descriptions again? A self-hating, depressive, lethargic male.
yeah.
In my teens, like this might hit me completely different. But
True.
this now is a hard thing to digest. It's an hour of almost all the same kind of thing.
Yeah. It's funny, the song credits, at least on Apple Music on the 20th anniversary, I don't seem a professional. I'm assuming he wrote these himself. He has or whoever uploaded the record has the song Tragedy credited to written by Barry Gibb, Maurice Gibb, and Robin Gibb.
I don't think that's true.
Which I thought was pretty hilarious when I saw that. There's another funny credit on here. I'm looking for it. And all the lyrics are available too, which isn't typical on a record of this, sort of indie records.
The problem is, Jay, is that this album's going to sit with me a lot longer than the ones that I like, because I'm still going to be confused about why it doesn't work.
It's going to haunt you.
It is going to haunt me.
The song Trees Lounge, the demo, is credited to Hayden and Steve Buscemi.
Well, that might be, there was a movie called Trees Lounge.
Okay.
And Steve Buscemi, I think that was his directorial debut. So that might have been written for the movie. Possibly.
There you go.
I only know that because I was into like lesser, smaller indie movies in the 90s.
Yep.
It's the only reason I remember that. By the way, completely unrelated, speaking of Steve Buscemi, I saw that Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser sat down to interview each other for like a magazine. And they talked about the Lone Rangers from Airheads.
Yeah.
And I think they were answering questions too. I don't remember. And talking about whether there could be an Airheads reunion. And I was like, man, they're all still alive. They could definitely do like a reunion movie of some sort. I'd actually like to see that.
That would be kind of funny.
Like,
especially with that band, it wouldn't be funny. It would be funny. Like the successful band who reforms movie is not funny, but the not successful band,
right,
that reforms with those actors would actually probably be pretty more. It might be funnier than the original.
I agree. So that needs to happen. Netflix has got a ton of money that they throw at stupid things. Like, have Netflix make that movie.
I could see it like almost make it like old school, but with the premise of a band.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million examples of crazy band stories. So I mean, just pull from all that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just get to the final rating here, I guess. I can't believe we're pretty much getting to the end of the year. And
I think it was like, 30 minutes or so, or before we were supposed to record yesterday, he texted me and said, I need more time with this record. And I was like, I knew at that time, I was like, uh-oh.
I texted you because I was like, I still don't understand what I'm listening to. I need another day. And I just put it on and repeat. I just tried to like force myself to digest this. It was like being a kid and there's Brussels sprouts on your plate and your parents are like, you're not leaving the table until you eat the Brussels sprouts. Did you know, Jay, by the way, that they have genetically altered the taste of Brussels sprouts in the last 40 years? So the Brussels sprouts we ate as a kid do not taste exactly the same as Brussels sprouts
because
now.
That's our like favorite vegetable now, but as a kid I never ate them.
Because they changed the flavor. They genetically modified the flavor to make them more palatable.
That's incredible.
Point being, I treated this like Brussels sprouts. Like I gotta eat it eventually. At some point I've got to get this down. And they're still sitting there. They're cold and they're completely inedible by this point.
Really? Did they have soggy cheese on them, or?
One time, no, my mom
figured out to make them crispy.
My mom did not season anything.
Just boiled them. Just soggy.
Probably they were just boiled. I'm telling you the truth, because we'd get like peas from a can.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, I can't eat these.
Yeah.
So I would, if there was mashed potatoes, I would try to hide them in the mashed potatoes and be like, oh, I'm full, but I ate my peas.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
We've come a long way on the vegetable game.
I mean, if you can genetically modify the taste of Brussels sprouts, think about all the other things: asparagus, broccoli, all these terrible tasting green vegetables that I have avoided my entire life.
Right.
If you could just make them taste like, I don't know, root beer, that would be cool. I'd totally eat them. Or alter my nose in some way that everything always... That's the future. Actually, I think that's the future, is where all the food that we're supposed to be eating will be genetically modified so that it tastes good, and all the food we're not supposed to be eating will be genetically modified so we don't eat it.
Yeah. That makes sense. I'm in.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Because what I'm doing now ain't working.
Yeah, no shit. Okay. Worthy album, better EP, decent single.
Well, like I said, I did my passive listens, and before I sat down to do my notes, I seriously contemplated this was going to be the first decent single for me probably in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't think I've had a decent single in quite a while. I did my notes, and I ended up highlighting more than one song.
Well, a single can be two.
I highlighted more than two.
Okay.
So, in all fairness, I'm at a better EP. But I wanted to give the context of how close I was. It really took work for me to get there. As a normal music listener, I would call this a decent single. As someone who's, dedicated to putting in the time and effort and really listening as hard as I possibly can, I've come away with a better EP, which would be In September, Tragedy, Stem, I'm to Blame, Hardly, You Were Loved, and My Parents' House. Where are you at?
I'm at a decent single.
Yeah.
After you said all that, I'm at a decent single. Stem on the A side and Assignment in Space with Rip Foster on the B side.
Is that the instrumental?
Yes.
Oh, well done.
That's all I can take. And I can't take no more.
That's a fair play.
I just
don't like the vocal. That's
the way to go.
Yeah.
You picked the song with no vocal and the one that has the most palatable vocal, I think, on the whole record. Look, folks, if you're fans of Hayden, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, I'm not going to yuck your yum, as they say. I'm not going to tell you it's bad. It just didn't work for me. It's just not my thing. Even as a critical listener, I just could not wrap my brain around this. So the likelihood of me checking out any more music from Hayden is probably thin.
I feel like we've got such a great symmetry going on with our core listeners, and after listening to those comments, I'm lost.
Yeah, this was a gut check, or not a gut check. This was like a, wait a minute, am I the bad guy? Like, no, it's the children who are out of touch. Like, I did not. I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, I legit was like, what am I not getting about this? Is it gonna just click? I'm like, it's all of a sudden it's just gonna click, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Because there have been records like that where I'm like, not getting this. Like the Into Another was a good one. Like first couple of times I was like, I am really confused by this record. I don't know if I like this or not.
Yeah.
And then something hits and I go, now I get it.
Yeah.
So
that didn't happen here.
We've got 2 more episodes left this year, Jay. Let's hope we can turn it around. We got our final Patreon selection from our polls, and then our year in review. Also, we'll have an 80s episode we need to do to wrap up the year here. So 2 if you are not a patron, 3 if you're a patron, because our patrons get 80s episodes every other month as a part of being a patron, joining the union. We've had some good 80s ones this year. We did Iron Maiden. We did Dio. It was a pretty rocking year.
It was.
There were some other ones in there that I don't remember at this exact moment, but they were.
Did we do the Angels this year, or that was
that was last year? That was Gavin's pick last year, and this year it was Iron Maiden.
Okay.
What was the other? There was some other ones. We did Rush, Presto.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. We laid into the classic rock for sure.
Yes, we did. So
we indulged.
Who knows what'll be our final one? We'll you'll have to join us at Patreon to find out. Also at Patreon is the Box newsletter, which you can sign up for at digmeoutpodcast.com, but you can read it if you become a patron over at Patreon. Every week we have a release calendar of new releases of albums, books, movies, TV shows, that kind of stuff, relevant to 80s and 90s music that we cover, plus reviews of new releases each week. And then Apple Podcasts is where you go to leave positive feedback, even if you disagree with us.
We're gonna get some nasty. This is
I
when
know.
we get comments on Apple Podcasts, when we don't get a record, and
when we yuck somebody else's yum.
Yep. Sorry. Happens from time to time.
It does. Sometimes we're the bad guy. It's all right. So for Jay, I'm Tim. We're out. We'll be back next week with another episode of Dig Me Out.